greenlit a drama entitled Ms. Sloan, in which an anti-gun lobbyist pushes through the federal government control legislation by targeting the gun rights lobby. On May 18, 2012, Michael Hastings, reporting for BuzzFeed News, delved into the bipartisan amendment that neutralized the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 and Foreign Relations Authorization Act in 1987. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 legalized the use of PSYOP propaganda in the United States, funded by the State Department. A co-author of the bill, Representative Mac Thornberry of Texas, regarded Hastings' fears as silly. Matt Armstrong, former executive director of the State Department's Commission on Public Diplomacy, stated, "There's this misconception that public diplomacy is propaganda. Propaganda is a lie, a deception, or intentional ambiguity, none of which can be led to effective public diplomacy by any country, let alone the U.S. A doublespeak propaganda statement if there ever was one." John Bound for INFOWARS.com.
DNA force.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in.
DNA force.
No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies.
DNA force.
We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
DNA force.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit AncientDefense.com or call 888-253-3139. AncientDefense.com.
John McAfee of McAfee Antivirus Software contacted us. He said, "I'm very concerned about the Stingray systems." You guys probably heard us talk about these. The Stingray systems that are used by people like police, pretty much anybody who can afford the technology, to mass collect phone calls. That's right, your private conversations can be collected by some third party without your knowledge. And he said, "I want to tell the people about this and what they can do to combat this." So John McAfee joins us now. Thank you for joining us, John.
Thank you for asking me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Now, I know you have a lot of Stingray news and all that, but briefly, could you just give us a recap for our viewers who may not be familiar with your trials and tribulations coming from Belize, and are you in a comfortable place now?
I'm in a very comfortable place. I'm living in Tennessee. I've made public where I'm actually living. It's a town called Lexington, a very small town in the central northern part of Tennessee. The U.S. government has been very helpful in providing information to me about what's happening in Belize. I hope that my trials and tribulations with Belize will soon be over.
Excellent, excellent. Now, let's talk about these Stingrays, because we've been reporting about these for a while now, but if you talked about these things 2-3 years ago, you were called a kook, a conspiracy theorist, but you're saying these things are very much up and active as we are. We've documented this stuff extensively. And what have you found with your recent research on the topic?
I found that there is no municipality in America that has more than 5,000 people that does not have access to at least one of these devices. Some of the larger cities have many hundreds of these devices. The central problem with the Stingrays, other than the fact that the Harris Corporation, almost in league with the government, has a contract so tightly bound that anyone who buys one cannot tell anybody else where they got it from, what the name of the product is, how much they paid for it, how many other products similar to it that they own, or anything else. The other problem is that these stingrays are not selective devices. If they are in your area, all cell phone calls will go through the stingray because that is the most powerful signal in that area. So everyone within a quarter of a mile will be passing through the stingray. Now, if the police knew the phone number and knew the machine address of the device being used by the criminal they were attempting to listen to, that would be one thing. But in most cases, they do not. They just know that the criminal lives nearby, or is in an apartment here, or is in an automobile there. So they have to listen to everybody's conversation to filter out and find the actual person that they are interested in, which means that every single conversation within a quarter of a mile is being listened to and has to be listened to determine which conversation is the one that they're interested in. This shocks me and frightens me.
As it should most of America, because you touched on it right there. Let's say you are looking for some elusive terrorist or criminal. They're probably smart enough to use a disposable phone, change phone numbers frequently. So now, even if they are staying in the apartment complex, you have to listen to everybody's chatter. And people always say, well, I don't have anything to hide. Well, you may not be doing anything illegal, but maybe you're talking about something you don't want the world at large to know about.
Absolutely. I mean, we have wives and girlfriends. We have private conversations every single day. We talk to our children, we talk to our parents, we talk to our friends about things we would never dream of making public or allowing someone else to listen in on. And yet, these stingray devices are so prevalent that it's rare to find any area where they're not being used these days. So that at least for some part of the month, you can be guaranteed that your phone conversations are being listened to, just to filter out to make sure that you are not the person that they're looking for. This, again, it is unbelievable that it has happened here in America, and yet it is happening here as we speak.
And you think about the Constitution, it says you cannot have a warrant without probable cause. These guys aren't even using warrants. They're just going out there and mass collecting this data. You're supposed to have a specific type of information you're looking for, but, just somebody in the apartment complex doesn't really fill that void.
People have actually filed suit against police saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? I want some information because I have the right to it. And so far, no one's getting any information. So far, the police, the authorities are standing firm. So it's going to get worse and worse and worse until finally this is going to be the hot button of this year, I promise you. So
I do agree. It's going to come to a head some kind of way, because we see with the protest, we've seen the reports monitoring people in the crowds, things of that nature. A lot of speculation that when you have these large gatherings, there are also kill switches that can kill the communications, not just the cell phones, but if you're streaming live.
Through that device has the strongest signal in the area. So you have to go, your phone automatically goes through it because it looks for the strongest signal so that it uses the least amount of power from your phone. Common sense. So if it's going through that device, they can choose at any moment not to pass it through to the real AT&T or to the real whatever subscriber you're subscribing with. So of course they have the kill switch. It's a frightening situation because they can listen to us and watch us and at the same time remove our ability to communicate simultaneously. Scary stuff.
This is an article you cited us. Now there's an app for detecting government stingray cell phone trackers. Can you break down this article for us?
Well, yeah, it was developed by 3 German scientists that have made the source code public domain. It's open source, meaning anyone can download it and put it in an app. I guarantee you, however, that the first company that does this, and it might be ourselves, will get all kinds of flack and probably lawsuits from the government, because that will put into the hands of everyone the ability to say, oh my gosh, we're being passed through a stingray now. So let me call you back later. I don't want someone listening to my private conversation with you.
Right.
Well, if we as the general public can do it, then so can the criminals. And I'm sorry about that. Yet we have to know when we're being listened to if we are innocent of any crime and they do not suspect us of any crime. Certainly we have the right to know that they're listening to our conversations. If we do not have such a right, then please, somebody tell me what law removes that right from me. Because as I understand our Constitution and every state constitution, I do have the right to have privacy in my communications with other people, provided I am not performing a criminal act or I am not suspected of performing one. That is no longer happening. In order to find the bad people, they have to listen to all of the good people. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't wash it with me. It just doesn't.
Exactly. And talking about these applications, I don't know if you heard earlier this year, they were talking about the Waze app, W-A-Z-E, and the police were all up in arms about this cell phone app, which among many other things allows you to pin the locations of police officers. You can also report traffic accidents, things of that sort. And the officers got all up in arms. How dare you put out something that can track our locations? And we're saying, well, what about what you're doing with us? And it's not just the phones, but you go downtown in places like Austin, Texas, they have police cameras every place, and they tell you you have no reasonable expectation of privacy in public. So can't you say the same thing for the officers?
Well, of course, absolutely. I mean, they are public officers, for heaven's sake. That's part of their name. Well, certainly we should have the right to know where they are. And actually, it could be extremely beneficial. If there's a police around the corner, then I might feel more comfortable about sitting outside late at night and not having to worry about being robbed or something. I mean, what's wrong with knowing where our policemen are? Good Lord. Are they all doing such devious things that if we knew about it, we would be up in arms? I don't know. It's a very strange problem.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. McAfee, you touched on your organization working on apps. So what exactly are you working on at this moment?
Okay, we're actually trying to implement the new Stingray detector into one of our apps. We have an app called Devasive, which allows you to lock down the camera, the microphone, to lock down your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth for times when you absolutely do not want someone watching you on your phone or listening to you, which, by the way, these Stingray devices can also do. Not only can they intercept your phone conversations, they can plant onto your phone software which will allow the police to watch you and listen to what you're saying while you're in the privacy of your own home. And they may actually have to do this to determine whether or not they have the right person. So if you're collecting, you're looking for one person who you know is living across the street from where you're monitoring, and yet you're collecting cell phone signals from as much as a quarter of a mile away, you may have 1,000 people you have to filter through, and you may actually have to turn on their microphones or their cameras in order to see, oh, that's not the one. I'm sorry, that's Mr. Jones across the street. Good Lord, no one should have that right. No one should have that power. And yet they do. This is the power that they have. And I believe that I have the right not to allow that power to be used on me in this country. And again, if I'm wrong, please tell me, point me to the law, and I will go back to Belize and live back in the jungle running from the Belizean government.
That's right, because it's bad enough here. You got the NSA director saying he's a libertarian while he's spying on everybody in America. Now, Mr. McAfee, I want to ask you a couple questions outside of the Stingray, because modern technology, not just your phone, but your computer, your home entertainment systems, how hackable would something be like a Xbox? Is that very accessible to somebody, not just with the Stingrays, but to any technology expert?
There's nothing that's not hackable. I mean, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news. Samsung announced that its latest television will be watching you while you're watching it, and listening to you as well. They're working on facial recognition software so that they will know whether you're smiling or whether you're laughing, whether you're pleased with the program or whether you're not pleased with the program. I mean, that's all good and well, but I'm in the privacy of my living room. I might be naked and drinking a beer like the average American, and I do not want Samsung taking photos of me and videos and sending them to a third party when the third party is not even named. And hacking that is the easiest thing in the world. If you can build a device to watch, then you can hack that device so that you can watch it yourself. Anyone can. And I promise you that these stingrays are in the hands of the wrong people. The wrong people. And maybe the police are the wrong people for it to be in the hands of now. I do not know, but I can guarantee you that they are in the hands of criminals. They have been used against me. I'm able to detect a stingray when my phone or when any of my mobile devices goes through a stingray. I've been able to detect it for a long time. I have not put it into a product because I thought that might have been dangerous. And now that the Germans have released source code for it, I think, well, maybe it's a little bit safer. I may do so. But I'm constantly being monitored by a stingray. I have no clue whether it's the police, the FBI, the NSA, the Sinaloa cartel, the Zetas, or just some neighbor that happens to have stolen one and is interested in what people are doing in the neighborhood. I don't have a clue. But they're in the wrong hands. And to say we cannot develop technology to protect ourselves from them because we would be restricting the law enforcement capacity to keep law and order, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that either.
Well, you hit the nail on the head right there, because you're talking about, even with the police officers, we've seen NSA officials spying on girlfriends, ex-wives, things of that nature. So to say that this Stingray can't be used for a similar type of tactic